that on this Thursday night, when you look, that remember that your wali is over you. The narrations, for example, in Wasail al-Shia, it's mentioned that every Thursday night, the deeds of the lovers of Ahlul Bayt are presented to the Imam of the time. That if he is pleased with those deeds, happiness comes upon him. But if he is sad with those deeds, it brings sadness towards his heart. And this is why when you go towards the next aspect, you find that there is a difference between him being the wali, him having mawadda, and him having muhabbat. That when you look at these words, there's differences between them that people sometimes they confuse. For example, they think that wilayat and imamat are the same thing. Wilayat and imamat aren't the same thing. That I asked this room a question, was Bibi Fatima an imam? No, she wasn't an imam. But is there anyone in this hall who is ready to reject the wilayah of Fatima to Zahra? There's no one within this hall. But what is the difference between these three words? Number one, you find that muhabba is something which is one way, whereas mawadda is two way. When you look, you find you have words mawadda, you have mubaya'ah. Mubaya'ah, it's a two-way word. From this comes bay'ah. Now if you give bay'ah, allegiance towards the imam, what does this mean? The imam, can he give allegiance back towards you? He won't give bay'ah back towards you because you are not infallible. But what he promises in return is that you pledge allegiance towards him. You give bay'ah towards him, he will promise shafa'at and intercession for you in return. And that's why there is a difference between muhabba and mawadda. That number one, the first difference between muhabba and mawadda is what? Is that mawadda is that love in which action is there as well. That mawadda is that love in which action is there as well. Why? Because you love those things which are loved by the ones whom you love. That I know this sentence was a lot, follow me. That you love those things which are loved by the ones whom you love. That when you're married, you give your wife flowers. Personally, you don't care about those flowers. What will you do with those flowers? But she loves those flowers and you love her. Thus you do what she loves because you love her. In the same way you find Ali ibn Abi Talib would love salat. You love Ali ibn Abi Talib, thus you love salat. You find Ali ibn Abi Talib would love fasting. You love Ali ibn Abi Talib, thus you love fasting. And this is why you find the narration says, لَوِ اجْتَمَعَ النَّاسَ عَلَى حُبِّ عَلِيِّ ibn Abi Talib لَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ النَّارَ. That if everybody came unanimously and joined on the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Allah would not have created the fire of hell. Now when we mention this narration, there's multiple reasons why Rasulullah said this. The first aspect is what? Is that the more the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen increases, the more the sins decrease. Thus Allah would have no reason to create the fire of hell. But at the second aspect that you find, that if society united upon the love of Ahlul Bayt, upon the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen, there would be a utopian society. There would be no dhulm, there would be no oppression. And when there is no oppression, there is no need to create the fire of hell. So this is the first aspect between muhabba and mawadda. What are some of the different aspects? Another aspect between muhabba and mawadda is what? Is that muhabbat is something which increases, it decreases. When you have muhabbat for someone, it can go up and down, whereas mawaddat is something which just keeps increasing. The second level, what do you find? You find that the difference between muhabbat and mawaddat is what? Is that when you have muhabbat for someone, you can hide that muhabbat. That if you have muhabbat for someone, you don't have to say that muhabbat. But when you have mawaddat for somebody, you can't hide that mawaddat. That's why when even Maytam al-Tammar, when they put Maytam upon that tree, they say, oh Maytam, stop reciting the Fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib. What did Maytam say? Maytam said that even if I'm killed, and my body is burned, and they throw my ashes, and they do this 1,000 times, I won't stop reciting the Fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib, because this is the status of mawadda. Now what is another difference between muhabba and mawadda? Another difference between muhabba and mawadda is what? Is that when you have muhabbat for somebody, you can live without that person. That you have muhabbat for somebody, you love your children. Your children, if they go to college, it's not a life-ending situation because you have muhabbat for them. But if you have mawaddat for somebody, you can't live without those individuals. That when you take a fish out of water, a fish, it doesn't have muhabbat with water, a fish has mawaddat with water. And this is mawaddat. But after that, you reach a stage called wilaya. That wilaya is a high stage, it is a high level. And wilaya, it has many dimensions, and I'll conclude upon these dimensions. That you find the first dimension of wilaya is what? It is wilaya muhabba. That the first dimension of wilaya is that at the very basic level, you need to have that love there. And you find this love is something which is there for the guidance of the human beings. You know, no prophet, he asked for any reward. Adam came, Nuh came, Musa came, Ibrahim came, Isa came, Ismail came. None of them, they asked any reward for their prophethood, and Rasulullah didn't ask for any reward either. Because when you look within the Quran says what? It says, قُلْ مَا سَأَلْتُكُم مِّنْ أَجْرٍ فَهُوَ لَكُمْ إِنْ أَجْرِيَ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ. That it says, I ask for nothing except for something which is for you. My reward is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you find that in chapter 42 verse 23, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the reply to Rasulullah by saying, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. That, O prophets, say, the fact that this word qul is there is showing that the prophet is not saying, Allah is commanding the prophet to say, to have love for whom? This qurba. That when you look at this qurba, what does qurba mean? You know, in Arabic, there's something called the comparative, there is the superlative. For example, the comparative is if I say bigger, that is comparative. But the biggest, that is the superlative. You find, for example, you have kabir. Kabir is a comparative. But the greatest is what? It is akbar. What is the feminine of akbar? You find the feminine of akbar is kubra. Same way you have asghar. Asghar is the smallest. The feminine is sughra. You have the most high is a'la. What is the feminine of a'la? It is uliya. Then you have the most low, which is adna. You know what the feminine of adna is? It's dunya. That this is what dunya means, it is the lowest. That's why Ali ibn Abi Talib would say that I've divorced this dunya 3 times and there's no returning back to this dunya. And you know, this one scholar, he would say that you don't marry the divorcee of your Mawla Ali, because if she was worth it, he would have taken her himself. That if she was worth it, Amir al-Mu'mineen had the right over her, but Amir al-Mu'mineen says that I've divorced this dunya 3 times. And this is why you find amongst the same status, you have akrab. Akrab is the closest, the feminine of akrab is qurba. That qurba within the Quran is Fatimatul Zahra and the Imams from the lineage of Fatima. And the Imams from the lineage of Fatimatul Zahra. And this is the first level, this is Bila'i Muhabba. But at the second level, you find what? You find the second dimension of wilaya is wilaya imamat. That the imams, they have the right to authority over the spiritual realm. You know, you look that there are even non-Shia who believe in this. When you look at the orders of the Sufis, you find all of their orders, they go back towards Amir al-Mu'mineen except one order. That is the Naqshbandi order. But even that order goes back to the Imam. Why? Because they go to Imam al-Sadiq. They go through the mother of Imam al-Sadiq, they reach Muhammad bin Abi Bakr. Who was Muhammad bin Abi Bakr raised by? He was raised by none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. So you find that the Imams, they are the guides in terms of spirituality. That's why when you come to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, you will find concepts in Islam which do not exist in any other school of thought. For example, when you look at the levels of our dua, no other school of thought within the world, no other group in the search of spirituality in the world has the du'as like the school of Ahlul Bayt. For example, when it comes to concepts such as Tawheed, that you look within Nahjul Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen explains that Tawheed is not a numerical concept, it's an ontological concept. Meaning what? You know, Imam Ali says is that Allah is one, but He is not one in the sense that He is not two, nor three, not four. When we say Allah is one, it doesn't mean numerically He is one, because to be numerically one, that is a defect. But when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, it means that nothing like Him can be imagined. A second like Him, it is not possible for Him to come within the realms of the world, within the realms of existence. And that's why you find that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he had this insight on religion which no one had. I remember there was one battle. Somebody comes up towards Ali. They say, Ya Ali, explain to us Tawheed. Everybody all starts rebuking that individuals. Then what kind of time is this? We're in the middle of a battle. You're asking Ali ibn Abi Talib to explain Tawheed. The Imam said, let him ask that question. For if they understood the concept of Tawheed, this battle wouldn't be happening. For if they understood the concept of Tawheed, this battle wouldn't be happening. You know, I remember after another of the battles, you find that there were individuals who were taken as captives. Now all of the companions, they would go, they would invite those individuals towards Islam, but they wouldn't come towards Islam. But when Amir al-Mu'mineen, he would go and invite them, they would join the folds of Islam. So they come towards Rasulullah. They say, oh Rasulullah, there is a problem, that whenever we invite these captives towards Islam, they don't come. But when Ali, he invites them, they come towards the religion of Islam. Rasulullah says, why are you asking me? Go ask Ali himself. When they go towards Amir al-Mu'mineen, they pose the same question. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, why are you asking me? Go ask those captives themselves. When they ask those captives, they go up, they say that when we invite you towards Islam, you don't come. But Ali invites you towards Islam, you join the religion of Islam. What is this? They reply by saying that when you were in the battlefield, you were running away from us. But when we were taken as captives, you would speak to us rudely, you would oppress us. But that Ali, when we were in the battlefield, we could not even stand in front of that Ali ibn Abi Talib because of how fierce a warrior he was. But when that Ali ibn Abi Talib saw that our hands were tied, he spoke to us with such humility that he sat on the ground, he folded his arms, and he would say, come towards the religion of Islam. We would say, oh Ali, how ajib, how strange are your ways, oh Ali, that in the battlefield we can't stand in front of you, but now you are so humble. Amir al-Mu'mineen replied by saying, these aren't my ways, these are the ways of the religion of Islam. The Imam says, these aren't my ways, these are the ways of the religion of Islam, because these are those individuals who understood the religion of Islam. The third aspect of wilayah after this, to finish quickly, because on Thursday night I want to recite Masai, Musiba and Lane. You find the third aspect is what? It is wilayah ziyamat, that the Imams, they have the right to political authority. You know, there is a general principle within the world that wherever you go within the world, the constitution is written first and it is implemented second. That logically, you can't implement the constitution if it's not there. You find that within the religion of Islam, only when you look through the lens of Ghadir, you find this basic common logical principles is implemented. Why? Let me give you an example. That if you have the center, Hussaini over here, and you see that a child is running around, he spills tea upon the ground. After that, you make a rule that there's no tea upon the carpets. Then after that, you find that there is a president, he stands up. A second person says that I am the president. Then after you see this, you write another rule, there can only be a one president. Then afterwards, somebody stands at the door and he says that I won't allow anyone to enter the masjid unless I become president. You write a rule that you can't do this. What's the problem with this? The problem with this is that there will be chaos by the time the rules are actually implemented. You find the irony is what? Is that when you examine Islamic history, this is exactly what happened in Islamic history. One person, he was appointed by a group of a certain number of individuals. They said that this is okay. The second person was elected by the first. They said this is okay. Another came into being on side of a shura. They said this is okay. Muawiyah, he hijacks the Khilafat from Imam al-Hassan, they said this is okay. That the difference between Islamic history without Ghadir and Islamic history with Ghadir is this difference. Is that with Ghadir, the constitution was first, the implementation was second. Without Ghadir, you find people would do whatever they want, and later fake historians, fake scholars would say that it's okay. That this is that difference within Islamic history. But if they had allowed that government of truth to run from day one, you find it would be a government which would be unimaginable. You know, a man says that one day I was walking with my father. As I was walking with my father, I saw Ali on the minbar, he was doing this. I think to myself, that what is Ali ibn Abi Talib doing? That he is sitting on the minbar, he's giving a khutbah, and he's shaking his hands. I said to my father, is it possible that it's hot outside and Ali ibn Abi Talib is cooling himself? The father replied by saying that Ali ibn Abi Talib, he only has one shirt. And he had washed that shirt before coming and sitting on the minbar. Now as he's sitting on the minbar and giving in this sermon, he is drying his shirt as he sits upon the minbar. This is the government of truth. That when Imam al-Zaman, he continues his government, it'll pick off from the government of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know, that Ali, that they say that Ali ibn Abi Talib, they saw him shivering within the winter time. They say, Ya Ali, you are the Khalifa, you can afford Aba which is thicker. Why don't you go and get that Aba? Amir al-Mu'mineen replied by saying, I'm afraid that there is somebody in my government within Yemen who is cold. Yemen signifying one of the farthest portions of his government. I'm afraid that they are cold. How can I as their leader sit in comfort while they are in discomfort? That this is that level. This is Wilaya. Wilaya was supposed to bring a perfect system within this world. And this is why the fourth aspect of Wilaya, it highlights the status of Ahlul Bayt is not tahsili, it is not gain. Why? Because these individuals are those who have wilayat tasarruf, they have wilayat taqweeni, that they have authority over the atoms. That when you look in Ziyaratul Nahiya, you find what? You find that there is line after line. It is because of them the rain comes down. It is because of them the vegetation comes out the ground. And this is something which the Ahlul Bayt have. But you know, they asked Ayatollah al-Bahjat, they said, Ayatollah al-Bahjat, how do we explain this concept? Ayatollah al-Bahjat replied, forget looking at Ahlul Bayt, even the servants of Ahlul Bayt, they had this. You know, there was a companion of the Imam, our 8th Imam by the name of